This is the most fun rogue build I've played in ages. Not only that, it's also insanely strong, capable of clearing into pit 100s, speed clearing pit 90s, 80s, 70s, you name it. One tapping Belial harder than your wife, dominating escalating nightmares. And did I mention that the build is fucking fun? Yeah? Good, because it is. It's penetrating shot, and it's finally back, baby. It took a 1-year hiatus, but it's now back stronger, faster, and more chaotic than ever. Now, if you played the old pen shot builds, it doesn't function the same at all anymore. So, how does it actually work now? Well, take a chill pill, crack open a cold one, and let me tell you. First things first, this is an Ass-Wrath build in its entirety, meaning this is where all of our damage comes from. There are several reasons this is the way to play pen shot nowadays. For starters, it's bugged, granting a shit ton of damage when you stack up attack speed, so there's that. But also, we now have an insanely buffed eagle horn, because this thing now allows your penetrating shots to bounce once at the lowest and in crowded corridors, well, more than once. On top of that, the stats on this thing are magnificent, because not only does it allow your pen shots to fire off twice without having to masterwork it, mind you, it also has a shit ton of malice ranks and it caps out your attack speed with ease. And considering malice got buffed recently, making it one of the best passives in the game, the weapon becomes even more incredible. But there's more reasons this build just now started shining, and it's all due to how Ass-Wrath works. It relies entirely on Lucky Hit. And guess what? Shadow Clone now works with Lucky Hit, meaning you can trigger your Ass-Wraths via your Shadow Clone. Take this, slap on a shit ton of Lucky Hit chance via Fists of Fate and your gear, and shit starts exploding everywhere with Ass-Wrath procs. And you don't have to worry. You're not the one that has to clean it up. Now, when it comes to getting the build online, it's actually easy as shit. But to get it online optimally, there are some gearing we need to cover. So, let's do that, shall we? Starting us off, there are 3 key stats we are looking for. Lucky Hit, of course, we want as much of it as possible. Crit chance, we want it at 100%. And finally, attack speed. Blizz just now gave us a massive buff here by changing around the new seasonal powers, allowing us to actually cap both of the attack speed buckets. And in case you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you can get 100% in both of these, which is usually insanely difficult to do, but we'll get it solved easy peasy. I'll show you how soon. But let's take it piece by piece. For helmet, we're looking for Air of Perdition, ideally with a GA on the Lucky Hit. It's not mandatory, but it helps out with solving crit chance as well. An equally good option, but making it slightly more difficult to cap crit chance, is using Cowl of the Nameless. For damage, they're pretty similar. For chest, Shroud is the only good option. If you don't have it, then just pay someone to boost some Belial, you lazy fuck. I'd do it, but, well, I don't want to. And get the AHU and Cax rune combo if you want to see huge damage when enemies go down below 80% life. Next piece of gear is your second most important one. And you definitely want to get a GA on the Lucky Hit here, because that'll be your biggest source of Lucky Hit chance by a large margin. Getting a 4 GA in this economy is impossible, so just aim for the Lucky Hit and as good of a roll as possible on the other stats. For Pantaloonies, this is where the bulk of your armor and resistances come from. So, get some goddamn resistances here instead of max life, and you'll be set. I've set the build up in a way so that if you get resistances and armor here and use incenses, then you should be capped. On top of that, we are getting some insanely important tempers and an aspect here. For the tempers, we need shadow imbuement ranks, as we want to keep it up on all enemies permanently, because not only does it increase your non-physical damage, it also has Lucky Hit on its own when shit explodes. For the second temper, second win ranks is basically how we stay alive, via a big-ass barrier. And finally, the aspect, you need the Umbrous aspect or else you'll fucking die, because you must get Dark Shrouds somehow, and you'd otherwise have to cast them manually or use runes to spawn them. So just grab the aspect, will ya? Next up, the Sneakers. These ones are basically perfect. Some additional resistances, dex, and movement speed. Having chance to daze here is also important, as to keep up trick attacks permanently and quickly stagger bosses. I then slap on the Quickening Fog aspect as to have my dash spawn smoke grenades for me for an additional 25% damage. Lovely. We then have our weapons. Eaglehorn is a must-have. Get 100% on the chance to hit twice and try to grab one with Malice GA. I couldn't be bothered, but you should. The other stats doesn't fucking matter unless you need more attack speed. And to trigger Vulnerable, we're utilizing the Tam and Thul combo here, as it also freezes and grants us more damage, which we appreciate. Next we have our lovely Aswrath. Get one with GA on the lucky hit, and masterwork that shit as much as possible. We don't really care about anything else. And for our other weapon, we temper on cold damage on lucky hit as well, as it's basically the same as Azure Wrath and works the same. An important thing here though, probably the most important thing of this video. You 100% need lucky hit chance to restore resources here, or else you're fucked. Because this in combination with innovation in the skill tree, and preferably starless skies, is how you'll keep up your resources. The latter, starless skies that is not needed, but it helps out when you fuck up and shoot into the air a few times and don't get any lucky hits. Oh, and also grab the Conceited aspect, because damage good. Next up, the Amulet. This is where I'm missing the most of my damage currently, probably 30 or 40%. The reason being, we want skill ranks here. Frigid Finesse is perfect, but I'd also like Unstable Elixir, Malice, Exploit, or just anything useful. But the dex is good, and you want to start tempering on Shadow Clone cooldown reduction now, wherever you can. On top of that, we have the Vehemence Brawler aspect for a large chunk of damage. Finally, the rings. Starless with lucky hit on it is just perfect, and if you don't have it, you'd grab a random ring with aspect of elements, something similar to this one, where we're rocking the accelerating aspect to cap ourselves on attack speed. And speaking of attack speed, here's our first jewel. The Myriad Stone Jewel just got buffed, moving it from the first attack speed cap to the second one, massively buffing the build. All you need to do is slot your catalyst to your ultimate and you'll get 30% attack speed for free. A pretty great deal if you ask me. Combine this with some additional elemental damage along with primary resource and max life, and we're done with this. Great job, friends, and just in time, seeing as it's nearly skill tree a fucking clock. Before that, let's take a quickie to check out the skills at hand and why we're using them. This version of the build in particular focuses on speed, meaning we want dash on our bars and we want to spam it as often as possible. This skill does benefit us in 3 additional ways though. Firstly, it triggers a knockdown so that we may utilize Malice more easily. And secondly, we need to damage enemies up close with a Cutthroat skill. And hey, will you look at that, dash is a Cutthroat skill. And finally, we're using the Quickening Fog aspect, allowing us to save a slot on our bars and trigger smoke grenades by dashing instead. Next up is Shadow Clone. Perma, unstoppable as well as double our amount of lucky hits? Yeah, why not? When it comes to Shadow Imbuement, we're getting a 12% damage bonus, while also allowing us to explode on our enemies with additional lucky hits. Next, we have Poison Trap. This is a fantastic skill. For starters, it knocks enemies down, making sure that you keep Malice up. But it also grants us a 20% damage bonus, and it poisons enemies, allowing us to benefit from alchemical advantage, especially on bosses when you're not hitting that many enemies with your dashes. Because that's indeed true, your dash also poisons enemies by spawning a smoke grenade. But you actually need to hit it, so just Dropping some poison traps is usually easier on bosses at least. Finally, caltrops for the damage bonus and penetrating shot. And why this skill in particular? Hell, there's a lot of skills that can trigger lucky hits, right? Well shit, son. Now that Eaglehorn allows for a gazillion hits, it's simply one, if not the best option. It also has a fantastic lucky hit chance. But yes, you could in theory also play with Twisting Blades, or Barrage for example. Either way, let's head straight for the skill tree to see what rest there is to know about the build. Basic skills get a wet fart. We then grab some defense along with our pen shot. In the agility skills, we find our caltrops and dash, along with unstable elixir and trick attacks for a large chunk of damage. Both of these are great to have on an amulet. In the subterfuge skills, we have Dark Shroud, which we trigger. How? Exactly, you beautiful human, via the Umbrous aspect. We talked about this, remember? Here we also have Smoke Grenade along with Exploit and Malice. Again, both great passives to have on an amulet. Next we go to pick up our Shadow Imbuement along with Alchemical Advantage for Big Dam and Deadeye for Massive Dam, which we'll use as long as we keep some distance to our enemies, and Frigid Finesse for a humongous damage bonus as long as we freeze enemies. In the ultimate tree, we gain some lucky hit chance along with Second Wind for defense and Innovation to help us out with resource management. And of course, Shadow Clone for having the additional friend with us. And finally, the key passive, Close Quarters Combat. To trigger this, you'll have to attack an enemy up close with Dash or Shadow Clone, along with using your marksman's skill, Pen Shot. Also, here's something you need to be aware of. To get the full damage bonus, we're grabbing all close damage in the Paragons. But that's not enough, because you also need your offhand to be a dagger to fill it up. No need to grab any glyphs, tempers, or shit, just do this and you're all set. And speaking of glyphs and shit, let's check them out. I told you this version is mainly focused around speed, so we're utilizing quite some damage versus crowd-controlled enemies. For pit pushing, however, you can swap these out to whatever the hell you want for more consistent damage. In any way, first out, we have Headhunter, of course, utilizing both decks and granting us a fantastic bonus. We then go for the No Witness board, where we gain the bonus simply by slotting in Fluidity and grabbing some ultimate damage nodes. You only need 80%, but if you're missing any because your glyph is low level, grab some extra nodes here. Next, it doesn't fucking matter where you go, but I'm gonna go here and grab Eldritch Bounty for the damage bonus, along with slotting in Canny for a fantastic damage bonus. Heading back all over to the left side of the tree, we have Dance Macabre, which means Poop Baguette in French, where we also socket control for a humongous damage increase versus crowd-controlled enemies. And finally, the Exploit Weakness board. Here you'll grab Devious for, yeah, you guessed it, damage increase. You do, however, need to crowd-control enemies for this one as well. So if you're pit pushing, just throw it in the trash and grab something else. With that, it's time to get good and learn how to play the build. Let's go. As with any rogue build, you do need to pay attention to this part because it's no brain-dead shit-eating barb build. Firstly, we talked about dash before. To keep up your bonuses, you ideally want to dash straight into your enemies. This will in turn knock them down, throw a smoke grenade on them, and make sure that you have close quarters combat up all at once. This is the most important part of the build. Other than that though, there are a few things you need to keep up. Shadow Clone and Shadow Imbuement should be spammed whenever they're up. Combine that with Poison Trap when you're on top of your enemies, and you'll deal big damn. Caltrops, however, only use that on bosses when you're speed farming, and keep it up at all times in case you're pit pushing. But knowing my average viewer, chances are you're not really a pit pushing type of guy. So just use it on bosses. Finally, try to hit your fucking pen shots, because if you keep missing them and shoot the air, then you'll run out of mana and have a bad time. and you shouldn't really run out of mana unless you're absolute trash. And in that case, well, I don't know what to tell you. Suck less, maybe? In any way, drop a sub because I'm done. And I'll see you in the next one.